If you're on social media, you wouldn't have missed these pink flowers in full bloom. They were everywhere. Bengaluru bursts into canopies of color at the start of each year. But what if I told you these trees, which have become part of Bengaluru's natural landscape, are actually from South America? So how did they end up here, halfway across the world, you ask? Like many things, the answer lies in colonialism.
If you look at the city itself or the ecology of the city, it is what we call semi-arid. It's this area which is normally doesn't get too much rainfall and therefore does not have too many trees traditionally.
So where did Bengaluru's trees come from? From banyans to the Tabebuias, all the avenue trees were planted by someone. Professor Harini Nagendra divides the planting drives into 4 phases. In the first phase, the planting efforts of Kempe Gowda, Haidar Ali and Tippu Sultan can be grouped together. The second phase of planting begins with the settling of the British just outside the city, the cantonment area. The first seeds of Tabebuia were sown here. It is here the homesick British started planting trees that were beautiful to look at, rather than say useful or considered sacred.
So if you look at the Pete area or old areas of which had the Indian residents like let's say Malleshwaram or Baswangudi, you will see that they had different ecologies, and the Indian aesthetic was often that of white flowers. Scent is very important for us.
The cantonment area was full of trees like copper pods, rain trees, Tabebuias, and of course the gulmohar, or more commonly known as the mayflower. The British brought these exotic trees from the colonies all around the world for their ornamental value. That's why they were selected by British administrators following the suggestions of horticulturalists from Kew Gardens, London. Gustav Hermann Krumbiegel was one of these horticulturalists responsible for greening large parts of today's Bengaluru. Though the trees were exotic, the principle for selection of these trees was truly Indian. Krumbiegel borrowed the concept of seasonal blooming from Kalidasa's Ritu Samhara. That is, trees were selected in such a way that no matter what the season is, there will always be a tree species in full bloom. In January, the Tabebuia, in March, the Jacaranda, and in May, the Gulmohar. Since 1791, the city has grown along with the trees. And as it did, the difference between the Pete and the cantonment aesthetic has largely collapsed. Now you can find all kinds of trees everywhere, even though the presence of Tabebuias is more around MG Road, Kabban Park and other cantonment areas. Back to the plantation drives. The third and one of the largest plantation drives ever in Bengaluru was spearheaded by S.G. Neginhan, an Indian forest official who is credited with much of the greenery that Bengaluru enjoyed through the 80s.
I created so many 78 nursery in the city so that we can have sufficient stock of saplings for planting. So I used to go to every street and ask the residents what type of saplings you want, whether it should have white color or yellow color, red color, like that. So whatever their choice was there, I used to plant such plants only.
In the early 90s, as new residential areas were developed, authorities once again made efforts to green the city. From that point on, more trees have been cut rather than planted for flyovers, road widening and other infrastructure projects.
It's unfortunately a dismal future. At least on streets, you see that the government is very clearly saying that they don't want to plant trees on the side of the road, because their thinking is tomorrow when we widen the road, which means they expect infinite widening of the road, then activists will protest, so better we don't have any trees on the road.
The flowering trees we look at, marvel at today and take pictures of were the result of deliberate efforts of the previous generation of administrators, be it British or Indian, whose imagination of the city gave Bengaluru its massive banyan, rain trees and of course the show-stealing Tabebuias. So what's going to happen when these trees are gone? Will Bengaluru have a green future?